Alrighty, module number 2, people and purpose. Who are we reaching and why do we care? Why do they care? What's our purpose? Why are we doing it? So, what do they really need from us? When we think about our target audience, we think we know who they are, we think we know what they're about, but who are they really? It's kind of like that line, what do you do? Well, what do you really do? We've got to go a little deeper in whatever way we possibly can. And what we like to call those are those surface level desires versus the deeper ones, the more underlying kind of emotional connection points that we can find with people. Don't be afraid if this is like way too woo for you, because there's something emotional about every single industry, even if you're selling insurance. What is the fear of that person and what do they really hope for? You're changing tires, you're an auto mechanic. Well, I've got the same kind of fears about my car or what I don't know about it, that if you can speak to me on my level and speak my language and know my pain points, not speak to your industry peers and fellow car guys, but to me, the woman who has no idea when to change her winter tires and how to fix my cracked windshield or what it should cost to change my radiator. Oh my God, I'm going to be so grateful. And actually, I believe you and I trust you and I like you, so sign me up. We're going to talk about our ideal post frequency, that commitment that we need to lay out at the get-go so that we can make it happen and see some gains. And then the performance metrics that matter to us. We're going to, at the very end here of this lab, we're going to look at Google Analytics to show where we can see what post is doing what. And then we need to know why. We can't just look to the bots to tell us what is working. We have to be able to speak to the reasons why that post performed really well or didn't. And then, of course, what kind of milestones and notable dates and themes of our sales efforts and our revenue goals can we weave into our marketing themes month over month? And then, of course, our blog topics that are going to support those revenue goals, because never have sales and marketing been more entwined, and we cannot have them exist in isolation of each other. So that's how we create both our content pillars and our blog topics. We start with our themes and notable dates, milestones, sales kind of triggers, and then those key messages that we have got to find a way to get across. So first, a truth. This is the line that we've been saying for a couple years now. And I always say, and never has it been more apparent, but for real, never has it been more apparent. The most human brand wins, where those A words that we talk about at social school a lot, authority, accessibility, authenticity, they're all so integral to connecting with the people we need to connect with and getting them to take action. And when we think about human brands, what does that even mean? I would argue all day long that it's those ones that share the values you do, first of all, and reach you on the level you want to be reached. And when we think about every study that tells us what we do not trust anymore as consumers, the trust barometer is extremely low, if not non-existent, sadly, today for government, maybe even corporations, big banks, even academia, media. Who do we trust? We trust our friends. We trust our peers. We trust those who, we know and that we have a physical or a personal relationship with. I had an experience a couple months ago where I was renewing my motor association membership. I had let it lapse, kind of could have cared less about it. Think of it like almost like insurance, and I'm not a fan of more insurance and more to-dos and more admin in my life. And I was renewing this plan and I was on the phone with this woman and she was so freaking friendly and it was so affordable. The value of it was there. And in this case, this just happens to be sort of a product or a service offering that is not some kind of luxury brand that I'm desperately wanting to be a part of. I would value my motor association membership by the value. It's kind of one of those cost related things for me. What am I getting out of it? Is this worth it? So that was one of the metrics. And that was there. I couldn't even believe how affordable for what it is. But beyond that, just how friendly and trustworthy and honest they seemed. And it was just kind of one of these realizations where I thought that is actually a brand, AMA, the Alberta Motor Association, that I feel a whole lot of surprising trust for. And I was kind of taken aback by this. I asked my aunt, who I was with the next night, do you have a brand like that? That's not your favorite makeup or designer brand or something, but it's just a general consumer day-to-day lifestyle piece of your world. And she said, yeah, it's my grocery store. And I said, really? Same thing. She's just that honest, familiar, friendly. She said, I feel like they know me. They totally get me. And I actually feel like I'm a part of the company, like I have a stake in it or something. Like, isn't that the A1 kind of goal? So when we think about what is human in a brand, it doesn't mean they have to be so out there and in our face on social media, or that they're creating the kind of video content that makes us, desire to be a part of it. No, they just have to exhibit really human traits. And we can do this on really small levels or really big levels, but it's working. And we could give each other 15 examples of this. But I encourage you to think about those in your life that might be pushing past all of those other broken trust realms that we're so familiar with. The ones that go into building a relationship with you, building kind of some sort of love and loyalty, and then making you feel like you belong. Another example that I can think of in this regard is Apple for me. I can't use a Samsung phone or a Google Pixel phone, no matter how many times people tell me they're great, because Apple has changed my world. It has allowed me in its devices and technology and hardware to follow my dreams or create a business that I love or chase down whatever I want or just straight up find lots of things on the internet. But it makes me feel like I'm a part of the company. I've been such a user and early adopter, a diehard Apple fan for so long that I actually kind of feel like, it's part of me or I'm part of it. So thinking about the ways that you might belong or make your people and your prospects feel like you belong. They belong, sorry. We go really deep into this in our content creation classes and strategy workshops, but I think you get the idea, hopefully, that it's not just religions, cultural groups, sports teams that can achieve this. Brands can achieve this sense of belonging and affinity like none other if they create the kind of content and storytelling that allows us to connect with them, and products and offerings too. But a lot of us feel like we're already doing the best we possibly can with our products and offerings. We just need our target audience or our people to know about them in a more, regular, seamless way. So, how do we do this really, really well? Well, we have to stop making it about us, whether we're talking about our products and services or our content. It is not about us and where we went to school and how great it is and how we came up with this idea. It's about them and the problem that we're solving for them, how we're going to take them from point A to point B, and point B represents some kind of transformation, end result, beautiful picture that they're going to be living after working with us or consuming our energy drink or whatever it is. So consumers are starting to dismiss more than ever the products and services that they feel no attachment to, no kind of emotional connection or relatability or the values that they hold dear. So we need to show up consistently and honestly and authentically. And again, a blog can do this really, really well. And of course, first and foremost, know who it is we're speaking to. So when we think about audience personas, there's so many ways to nail down who these people are, to drill into their desires, as we said. But the three buckets that we need to think about are geographics, demographics, and psychographics. And many of us, if we had to, map out an ad campaign tomorrow, which we would target people with our blog post through our Facebook ad campaign, we would think about it in terms of the geographics, those surface level things like location and age and city maybe or postal code, zip code. And then maybe a little bit about those key demographics. So interests, age, gender, income, education, if we can target that, life stage. These are all just slightly less than surface level, but they're not quite where we want to be on the psychographics, where we get into that kind of opinions and values, fears, desires. If we know those things, and sometimes it's hard to target those on in ad campaigns, but if we can think about that when we're writing our content, and we can put an audience persona together as ideally one person or maybe three, and you can name them and describe them and speak to them so authentically, now you're getting somewhere. Because when you can talk to a person like they're right in front of you, and you can connect with them in a way that feels like you're speaking one to one, you're going to connect with many. Will attract so many more bees because you're speaking in a way that isn't just kind of this broad, en masse, big box language. It is boutique. It is very, very specific to that person, and it feels really, really real to a lot of us as a result. So if you can map those out, wonderful. We have an exercise for that as well. Next, we need to think about what we need to convey to them. And this is a bit of a trick question because there's what we need to say, what I need you to know, and then there's what they want to hear. And the sweet spot is somewhere in the middle there, where we're not pushing our message on them, but we are, speaking their language and ideally kind of reaching both of our goals at the same time. And the key message piece here is something that is crucial when we're in sort of the PR realm. If you've ever done work with a PR agency or you've been a PR agent yourself or done any kind of media relations, maybe you've seen that sort of supplementary page that's often attached to a press kit or that's written in some kind of company manifesto or investor relations doc. And it's like the key messages here, 10 things you need to know about XYZ event or company or grand opening or investor report. And really, making sure that everyone in your organization knows those key messages. And they don't have to be public sound bites, but they have to be written. They have to be crafted in a way that is, exactly what people have to know and understand about your business. And then you weave them into some of the content that you can kind of start to publish and post on your social feeds, blog, e-newsletter, etc. So if you have to kind of start there, I encourage you to do that. And again, we've got an exercise for those. So from there, what are those sales and marketing themes for the year ahead? Let's call it 12 months if you can think that far out. And most of us can identify 5 or 10 that are meaningful to us. We might think about openings or expansions or campaigns. Maybe they're notable seasons or holidays or kind of times of year based on either your revenue, like it's end of year Black Friday, or it is based on just kind of marketing campaigns that do really well for you. Then we need to think about those same types of milestones and events in the eyes of our consumers. What matters to them? Is it back to school? Is it summer holidays? Is it Christmas, Mother's Day? Is it something more specific like Life Jacket Awareness Week or Bike to Work Day or, I don't know, Heart Attack Awareness Month, if that's a thing. So we're thinking about these themes and again, how we can utilize those as jump off points for our marketing content and ideally our blog posts. So we've got an exercise for this for you as well, and you can think about it in-house, out of house, whatever it is. But essentially what we're doing here is kind of editorial calendar planning. And this goes back to magazines and media outlets, and they've been doing this for a long, long time. If you look at the monthly issues of your favorite magazine, we're trying to do the same thing here. Have monthly jump off points or quarterly that can really make our content kind of shine and have some inspiration behind it instead of just the same old all the time. Finally, how do we bring it all to life? Well, I've mentioned this a few times, but here it is. So we've got our tier 1 top content, the most important rich content that we're going to create ideally once a week at the outset of the week on a Sunday or batch created the month in advance, maybe 4 at a time. And we consider this to be blogs and video. And the reason again being that it's just richer, deeper thoughts that can spill into supporting content and supplementary content. The tier 2 content for us generally is email marketing or e-newsletters. And then tier 3 being social, but it depends. Your supporting could be a podcast, or it could be your live video where your blog is on top, or your video's on top and your supporting content is a blog that you pull from the transcript of that video. And then the supplementary content might just be LinkedIn posts or a couple of tweets. It's totally dependent on your resources and the platforms that you're declaring are of importance to you. So let's get some workbook exercises done, some thoughts on paper here, or at least written somewhere, and then we'll keep moving through this and further flesh out those ideas that we just talked about. So exercise number 1, we're going to be looking at our blog's kind of fundamental features. Oh, first of all, sorry, let me just take us through this workbook roadmap. This doesn't exist in our other workbooks for this. This lab, like I said, is very workbook specific. So we've made a little roadmap for you here. And really what this is a recipe for a super strategic, highly successful blog. You're determining your goals. You're identifying your audience. You're declaring that frequency and the commitment overall. You're determining your monthly sales and content or marketing themes. They can be the same or different. They're probably pretty similar. And then you're naming your content pillars and categories, which is in the next module. Stay tuned. And then you're mapping out your content a month in advance. So getting more specific about your post topics and categories and the actual content within it. And then you're identifying the process for making it happen. So there's that roadmap for the months going forward so that you can actually stick to a plan and really get these babies published and working for you. Okay, so exercise number one. We've talked about this a little bit here, but I encourage you to take some time to think about the overview of your blog and the target audience that you're hoping to reach. The most important thing. So many of us, I literally had this conversation with a girlfriend the other day. She called to ask for all the influencers I knew of that they could send this big gift basket to for their grand opening. And I kind of laughed and I said, it's so funny how we work backwards here. We should be reverse engineering the offering, so that gift basket and that letter you just wrote to 20 people, when we know who they are. Who's the target? Who's that media personality or that influencer that you're sending this beautiful thing to? And then, customize it or craft it accordingly. That release, that press release, that announcement, that email, that phone call, or the pitch, or the blog post. But if we don't know who they are and we craft it first, and then we're like, who should I send this to? I totally just did it for me, not them. So reverse engineering from knowing who they are first and what they need from you and your posts, and then crafting the content and publishing the work. So you can come up with the name of your blog. It might be the same as your business, or it might have some kind of funky name. That's great. And then the subject matter generally. What is it going to cover? Probably it relates a lot to your industry, but maybe you're able to get a little bit more niche about something specific. And this is where we can use our content pillars to help us divide up our ideas for our blog, but on the whole. Then the audience I'm creating for my blog for can be summed up as who, clearly defined as a singular persona. Who is that Martha? And what color wine does she drink? What color wine? I'm so sophisticated. Does she have a cat or a dog? Is she single? Is she wealthy? Is she, well educated or not? Is she lonely? Is she afraid? Is she excited? What are the things that drive her that might also drive her to you? And then, once you know those pain points, you hopefully can think about the ways that you could solve them or step in to address them. And again, if she's just thirsty for a great latte, awesome. How can you step in and serve her with something that's going to make her want that latte even more and go deeper than just like, it's a sale, you should come get this latte, to the values and the people and the sort of things that make your company who you are, those key messages that can allow us to develop some richer content than just the straight up promotional garbage. Okay, so when we know those desperate desires, that not desperate, what did I call that last one there? Desperately, desires or wants to feel. Well, let's be desperate, I guess. You can move on into your goals and commitment and frequency here. So this is where we think about for the following time frame. I am going to wholeheartedly, not just half-assedly, wholeheartedly commit to this many posts per month of this length, with this many sound bites, maybe if you can in each, and just starting to pull apart kind of what the calls to action or the associated offering or service that blog post is covertly or overtly promoting or pointing to. That's always helpful. Again, that ties in the sales goals with the marketing goals. For an annual total of how many posts? How frequently? When are you publishing? And again, what are your top 3 goals? Is it to drive more traffic to your website? Is it to grow your list? Is it to receive more phone calls, or straight up just to rise up the search rankings and have your new business actually found and seen? Maybe it's just to help you develop social content. Whatever it is, you've got to lay those down, and they will change. Don't worry about that. But if you don't know what to measure, you're not measuring anything. So thinking about those metrics and goals. Next up, this is where you get to have some fun, because the rest has not been fun. No, it's all fun. It's all fun. So what is it that you could say? You don't have to do it monthly, but if you want to, and if you want to stick to quarterly, that's cool. But if you want to kind of drill into monthly here, you can as well. What is the sales focus, or we call it launches in our marketing world? because we're always working in like a 6-month campaign. We call it a launch campaign to open cart or sales. But you could just call it your marketing theme for the month or for the quarter. But either way, they could be different because remember, if in February you're selling like crazy amounts of Valentine's Day content, for lack of a less generic holiday to celebrate or sell to, you're going to be generating that content. So your marketing theme in like November and December might be creating the content or launching and starting to talk about and tee up that February offering. So they're not always completely tied together. It really depends on how long that marketing campaign and mix is, but also how far in advance you tend to work in your marketing strategy. And then the key messages. So a few examples at the bottom there hopefully will help you. What do I do, sell, or offer? That so many of us forget to talk about. We just go straight into talking about that new, watering dog system, dog water, whatever, bowl. But we forget to talk about like what makes us a great dog trainer, or why our philosophies are a little bit more established than the others, or why our boarding, whatever. You get it. Sorry, that was a terrible example. What makes it worth buying? Why should I care? I do not care. I'm a consumer who has very little time and patience and energy for more promotional content. So how are you going to capture me? And why does it matter to me? Why are you targeting me specifically? Oh, good, because you know me and you know that I need this and want this. Perfect. But now, what is it that is going to make me give you the time of day? What differentiates you from the others? And if no differentiation, you need to try harder. What are you not doing well enough? You're probably doing something great and differentiated. You're just not talking about it in the ways you need to. What is your secret ninja skill? What is the one thing you wish everyone knew about your content? What is a misconception you can clear up? These are all kind of leading questions to help you develop your key messages that at the end of the day don't have to sound like beautifully polished statements. Remember, these can be internal to you and your company, but you've got to get on the same page with everybody about what they are, or even just with yourself and your many internal personalities. I will see you in Module 3, Pillars and Posts, and we will keep building on all the beautiful things that make blogging so much fun. See you there.